Hey everyone, welcome to Fieldwire's webinar and good morning and happy Wednesday today. Let's just give everyone a minute to join before we begin. While you guys are waiting, feel free to add where you're joining from in the chat box. All right, we'll go ahead and get things started here. Thank you everyone for joining us today for our Fieldwire for Firestopping Contractors webinar. My name is Pranati Gompa and I'm a program manager here at Fieldwire. Before we begin, I would like to address a few housekeeping items. To ensure a smooth session, all the attendees are muted, but please don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have in the Q&A panel. We also have a Q&A session at the end of this presentation, and we'll do our best to address as many questions as we can in that Q&A session. And if we are not able to attend any of these questions, we will get back to you as soon as we can. Also, we have some poll questions during the webinar for you to participate in, so feel free to select your answer when these questions pop up. And additionally, we have a quick 5-question survey at the end of the webinar, which we would really appreciate if you could fill it out. The survey helps us to determine the usefulness of the content we deliver and also helps us to plan on the content that we want to deliver on our future webinars. So before we dive in, please take a minute to fill this first poll question that we have. So just a quick understanding of what type of company do you work for. Yeah, we have architect, engineer, consultant, GC, sub, others. All the fire stopping people, you can add yourself as the subs. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And let's go back and do another quick question just to understand the audience here. What is your role at your company? Are you a PM, project coordinator, project engineer, super foreman, project executive, or just others? Just giving this another few seconds here. Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. And without further ado, I would like to welcome Eric Campus and Archana Sharma to take this forward. There
Thank
you
you,
go.
Pranati. So hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Eric Campos and I am a construction solutions engineer here at Fieldwire. So a little bit about myself. I earned a degree in mechanical engineering from UC Davis, but since graduating, I have been working in the construction industry at different organizations throughout the West Coast. For nearly a decade, I specialized in the design of fire suppression systems for high-end commercial buildings and also did some fire protection consulting in my previous role. I'm excited to walk you through how Fieldwire can streamline your construction workflows from project setup to reporting and inspections. Now I'll hand it over to Archana for a quick introduction.
Thank you, Eric. Hello, everyone. This is Archana Sharma. I'm the software product manager here at Hilti, managing the firestop or fire protection related software and services for US and Canada from the Hilti standpoint. And really thank you all for joining this webinar. And I will be addressing if you have any questions regarding the firestop documentation software or any of the use cases you have. Yeah, looking forward to that. And now, Eric, back to you. Thank
Yep.
you.
Cool. So today's agenda, pretty straightforward. We're going to keep it light. We're going to start with a quick Fieldwire overview. Then we're going to jump into a live demo where we're going to go over some of those workflows. And then we're going to save some time at the end for some Q&A. So for those of you who don't know, what is Fieldwire? So Fieldwire is a job site management platform built for construction teams, including specialty trades like fire stopping. So whether you're tracking penetrations, documenting fire stop installations, or coordinating with GCs, Fieldwire helps you stay organized and compliant. So we accomplish this by giving your teams the ability to mark up plans, assign tasks, attach before and after photos for inspection records, and generate detailed reports, all from the field or the office. With Fieldwire, we help you streamline documentation management, reduce rework, and ensure every fire stop is properly installed and recorded. So Fieldwire does offer a lot of modules, but today we want to focus mainly on three: our plans, our files, and our tasks. I'm also going to walk us through some of the project setup and key differences that will allow fire stopping teams to take full advantage of our platform. So with that, let's jump right into it. I'm actually going to take us over into the Fieldwire landing page and show you guys what I'm talking about. So this is a Fieldwire landing page. This is going to be your central hub where all your project and account information lives. Each tile you see here represents a different project that your team is working on. So to streamline, the project setup, you could use project templates. Templates help you standardize your workflow by standardizing, or preloading some of the common settings like categories, users, checklists, and task structures. So we'll touch on those in a bit. And then you're also going to notice some of these project labels here. These are fully customizable to match how you're currently organizing your projects, whether it's by phase, by scope, client, or team. So you can see a couple different options here. So cool. With that, let's jump into it and see what more Fieldwire has to offer. So I'm going to go into this project that I have created for today. And now on the left-hand side here, we can see the different modules that Fieldwire offers. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be focusing on our plans, tasks, and files, but I actually want to take a step back and take us to the People tab and highlight this. So down here at the bottom left, we're going to have our People tab. This is where we can add our users or really manage the users that are contributing to this project. So it's really straightforward. We can just go ahead and add a user here, right? Add their email addresses. This is one of those items that we can create as part of our template, so you don't have to constantly add the users onto the project. You could simply have it already pre-included or preloaded. We're going to add this user, for example. And just to highlight for the three different permission levels, we have our admins who essentially have full control over the project, including managing users and settings. Our members, which can perform most of those actions and edits, but really only delete their contributions. And the followers, which have limited access, mainly to view and contribute to their own tasks and markups without affecting other teams' works. So to add, you simply just select that permission level and hit invite. So now that we have our users on our project, let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the files module. So within the files module, this is where you can store and access all project-related documents. Everything from your UL system listings and technical data sheets to inspection reports, safety talks, even engineering judgments. You could store this information here. One major advantage of our platform is that you don't need to upload everything manually. Fieldwire integrates directly with Google Drive, allowing you to instantly sync documents to your project. Additionally, we have a Hilti managed drive that ensures your team has access to all the UL listings. So with the limited storage that Fieldwire offers and the offline access, you never have to worry about running out of space or losing the access in the field. So here's an example of what that drive looks like. This has, the files for the UL listings available, so I can just quickly go in here, reference them. I can select it, it'll open up, and I can see that specific listing. I can view, annotate, add some information in here, but really it's great for just referencing. Additionally, as I imagine most of you know, Hilti has lots of these listings, so it's really helpful to have the ability to quickly filter and find what you're looking for. So let's just say, as I type in, AJ, this is the type of listing I'm looking for, I could see that filter file and just quickly identify those that are available. So just wanted to touch on that and show you how you don't have to worry about just uploading that specific set. Just connect to the Google Drive. Now it's available on your project. Cool. So now with that, let's jump over into our plans module. So managing your drawings and plans on Fieldwire is super simple and straightforward. You can drag and drop your set here by just uploading them, drag and drop. If you do have one of these cloud storage solutions that are shown here, Fieldwire has what's called a two-way sync. So essentially, if you have your files already, like on Dropbox, for example, you can integrate directly with Fieldwire, and that two-way sync will allow you to make, any changes you make on the Fieldwire side will impact the files on the Dropbox and vice versa. This ensures that updates or changes are automatically reflected in both of your storage systems. So yeah, once your sheets are uploaded, Fieldwire is going to use our OCR scanner to automatically scan for that sheet number and also to calibrate them if there is a known scale on the plan. So to give you an idea, we'll automatically name that sheet using this sheet number here. Now, Fieldwire also supports versioning, so you can add, the different iterations of your sheets, of your sets throughout the life cycle of the project. To give you an idea of what that looks like, at the bottom right here, I have my 100% CD set. I could always go back in time if there is a different previous version and then access that. You'll see this watermark that's going to follow me around, letting me know, hey, you're on this previous set. So, by default, you're always going to be on that latest set, but that is an option. Taking that a bit further, you do have the ability to compare between the different sets. So if you wanted to go back and compare, like, hey, what were the changes that happened from my 90% to my 100% set? You have the ability to compare those. Or, what might come up a lot for your type of workflow is an overlay. To show you what that looks like, I'm going to compare one of these sheets to, let's just say, for example, the fire protection sheet. I can compare, make sure I align these two different sheets, and I can see. I know for a fact that this IDF room has this fire rated wall, so now I can see where that penetration occurs on that wall at that specific location. So while in this compare mode, I can always add some markups, some callouts, so I can quickly identify, hey, this is where that exists. Let's make a quick note. FP penetration, misspell that, and then just add those markups. Even though these markups are in the compare mode, this will allow me to, as soon as I go back to my previous sheet, they're going to follow me along. So I know exactly where that occurs. So just another way to really take advantage of the compare functionality and the overlay to quickly identify where those penetrations occur. Cool. So now that we have the team members on our project, right, with the people tab and our plans, we can see how all this is starting to come together. I wanted to jump over to the mobile side and show you how to utilize these features and start tracking our work. So I'm actually going to go over into my tablet here. So this is a iPad. So Fieldwire, we can work on iOS or Android. And this is going to be our app here. So to start off, we simply select the app and it takes us to this home page. So this is going to be very similar to that landing page, with the major difference being that you have two sections. You have the projects on your device and then your other projects. the main call out here is that the other projects are projects that you've been added to, but they're not quite enabled on your device yet. To do that, it was straightforward. You just select the project and select enable. You'll notice this spinning wheel here and this line at the top letting us know that it's syncing. And this is important because this is what allows us to really access all our project information without internet access. So I could still go in here, make some markups, add some photos, fill out a report or a form, and I won't lose that data. As soon as I connect back to the internet, that information is going to be automatically synced and give your team access to the progress that you've made. So with that, let's jump back into that project that we have for today. So similarly, on the left-hand side here, you have the different modules that we were discussing. So we were here within our plans tab. So let's jump into one of these live safety sheets. So within the live safety sheet, you'll notice a couple things, right? There's some markups here, there's some callouts, a couple things to point out. With Fieldwire, there is interconnectivity between the modules. So even though we're on the plans, we're also pulling from other information, right? So to give an example, let's just say this 2-hour head of wall. This is a hyperlink that we've added directly onto the plan. So this makes your plans more dynamic and gives your team the resources they need to access while on site. So if we know this applies to this plan, we could just drop it in the location and I could just simply tap it and reference that 2-hour head of wall listing. All right, I can go into the information here, review it, and once I'm done, simply select done and go back to this previous sheet. Here are some markups as well, and then some of those hyperlinks too that we discussed, like your camera icon here. This is pulling directly from your photos module. So if I select it, I can see some of that progress that's been taking place on my project here at that specific location. So really just making your plans more dynamic and offering your team, the information that they need to reference. Cool. So now for tracking work and for actually performing that and displaying it both on the plans and just keeping track of it, how do we do that? This is really where we're going to focus on our tasks. So you'll notice here on this plan, there's going to be a couple of these pin icons or checkpoints. They look like little balloons and they're sprinkled all over the plan. So really these are tasks that are specific to a location on the plan. So you could think of a task in this sense as a location-based action item. If I click into one of these tasks, I could see some information, right? I can go into other ones and see some photos as well. But really the tasks are what we want to utilize to ensure that this is the work we're tracking, this is where our photos are going to live, and any communication between your team members will also exist there. So to give you an example, let's say that, I'm part of the installation team along with like 4 other crew members, but I have a focus on a specific area on this 3rd floor. So let's just say it's this clouded region here. So I'm responsible for all the fire stopping that's going to take place here. So to start off, this is how I would go about it. Like I would zoom in, right? I would see, okay, there's this 1-hour fire barrier here in this storage room, and I'm on site, I see those penetrations and I have to perform that work. So how do I keep track of it? To do that, I'm simply going to open up this toolbar here by selecting it. You'll notice that this task icon is going to be at the top here. I simply select it, and a general theme here is with the toolbar, if it's blue, that means it's activated. So once activated, I can then select the location on the plan where my penetration takes place. So I could do the task, I can implement the task for each individual penetration, or it could have multiple and just have various of the same types of penetrations all living within the task. So for example, I'm just going to use one penetration here south of this door. Just simply select it. And now this window is going to emerge where I can interact with the task. So the first step is going to be, let's give it a title, right? As we mentioned, it's going to be a fire sprinkler penetration. So I'm going to make that the title. I could type this out, or if you have the speech to text enabled on your mobile device, you could just speak that. Fire sprinkler penetration in storage room. Cool, so now that's titled. The next thing we're going to look at are some of these attributes. So these attributes really help us organize this information when we're dealing with these tasks. As many of you know, you can have hundreds if not thousands of these fire stopping installations throughout your project. So depending on how much information you want to track and include in the task or in your work, this is the best way to accomplish that. So to start off, the status, this is going to be the different states that your tasks are in to show you these are fully customizable. And you can think of these as visual cues. As we saw when we first opened up this plan, there was different tasks all over the sheet with different colors. So those colors represent those visual cues depending on how you want to address them, right? So typically we'll make like red something to alert you, like your issues or open items, and you can customize these. I'll touch more on this once we get back into the task module, but for now, since we're working on this actively, I'm going to switch it over to in progress. Now for categories, again, this is fully customizable. I can select the one that applies to this specific type of installation that I'm doing. So in this case, I'm just going to select fire sprinkler. Now assignee by default, it's going to be the person creating this. So in this case, I'll just leave that blank or leave that as Eric. And now for the UL listing, you do have the ability to create custom task attributes. So as I mentioned, the more information we add, the better. This UL listing is going to be a drop-down menu of commonly used UL listings on my installations. So in this case, I know that this one will require the WL 1054, so I could simply select that. Now for the next two, the plan and location, because we added this task specifically add a plan, that's why this shows here. So the location here is optional, but can also provide you with additional information as far as like a tiered structure of where this exists. For now, I'm going to leave it blank, and we can touch more on that later on, or if you guys have questions about this, we could send additional resources. Now, the last step is going to be our start and end date. Since I'm performing this work now, I don't anticipate this taking more than a day, so I'll leave the end date as July 9th. Now back to the body of the task here. This is where that communication and actual documentation of the work is going to take place. So you'll notice a couple things, right? That first mini map will identify exactly where this task lives on this sheet, but you also have this history of all the changes made to the attributes. So this is important because we want to track, hey, when did this happen, or who made these changes? It's all going to be stored here. So another thing I want to add to my task here, and something that can also be part of your template, is a checklist. The checklists are great if you want to ensure that your team members are following a certain procedure with this installation. So in our case, I'm going to select this plus icon here, find the checklist, and find the one that applies to this specific type of work. So it's going to be that first one. And now I have my checklist, so I know exactly what I need to do, and I can check these items off as I go. So the first one, take before photo. I'm going to select yes. As I mentioned, things are interconnected here, so that camera icon is going to allow me to either take the photo directly with my mobile device, or in our case, I'm just going to add a photo from my existing library. So that photo has been added there. Now I can continue to the next step, so I'll verify that, add the UL listing PDF. So this one here, as you guys saw in the attributes, right, I added that 1054. Now I can actually add the reference document. So that's going to be pulling directly from that Google Drive folder that we have. So to do that, same thing, plus icon, hit file, and existing file. So you'll see here this list of different files that are on my Fieldwire project. So it's a very extensive list, but I could simply search for it here, 1054, and attach it. Now that it's attached, you'll see it living within the task. So this is going to be essential, especially for inspections, right? And this will make a bit more sense once I went through that scenario. But we've added that PDF listing, and now we could just go ahead and speed run through this installation. Let's go ahead and take an after photo, or in our case, add another existing photo once it's performed. Cool. And now the last piece, right, we can add our Hilti QR code. So for this QR code, this is going to be that physical sticker that we're going to apply directly onto the location on the plan. To do that, we would simply plus icon, go to QR code sticker, and I'm going to go ahead and scan one of these. So I scanned it, and now that it's scanned, you'll get this pop-up window letting you know, hey, this is linked, here's that code, and we're good to go. So I can check that off. Now that it's ready to be inspected, I can go ahead and just do that final step of actually letting my team know, hey, this work is performed. Let's get this inspection going, or let's add this to the list of tasks that need to be inspected. So to do that, I can either go in here and change my status, or I can also interact with the messaging. So at the bottom left here, I can tap into it, use that app function, and you'll notice a couple of options that present themselves when I select that. I'm going to look for ready for inspection and hit post. And you'll notice now that this task has changed from yellow to green. Again, that visual cue that lets us know if we're on this plan, we could see, hey, this one's ready to go. So now that we've completed this task, it's ready to go, and we have our inspector, whoever's going to be reviewing this as part of that Fieldwire project, they can then go ahead and pull up their camera, walk on site, and go to that specific location, scan that QR code, and it takes them directly to this task. So I could see everything that's been completed, I could see the before and after photos, and I could reference that document if needed. So that pretty much covers the workflow. I believe we have a poll question for the audience here. Cool. See those results coming in. We'll give it a couple more seconds here. Awesome. Okay. Thank you all for responding. So now that we've seen how tasks work with our plans and some of the interconnectivity, I want to take us back to the web version so I could show you where these tasks live. So jumping into the task module here, on the left-hand side here, you could see the categories that we mentioned, right? So these will act as filters. We can create custom ones depending on what we're trying to track. So I'm actually gonna, we only see one task because that task this is the filter we have on. But if I select all tasks, now I can see all the tasks that are on my project. So up at the top here, this is where our statuses are. So as I mentioned, these are visual cues, but also the different states or phases of the tasks that we want to track throughout our project. So we can customize these. We can add more. We can add up to 20 in this scenario. So that should be more than enough to really track the different phases or statuses that we want to on our project. And to do it, it's really straightforward. These are the examples that we have here, but let's just say that one of the statuses I want to track is like for any tasks that need an EJ. So I would simply create that status here. I can choose where in that view I want to include that, and even change the color. So once I create that, all I would have to do is hit save, and that column will appear for me. In this case, I'm just going to discard it, but the idea with these tasks is that they are very versatile, right? They allow us to really keep track of the work that we're performing, and the more information we add into it, the easier it gets to sort through them, filter them out based on maybe the listing that we have involved, maybe where this exists on the plan, or who's created them. And they're not limited to just fire stopping installation, right? They can be used before, during, or after construction, and they can be used in different ways. So for example, you'll notice some of these tasks have different symbols, right? We focus mainly on the checkpoint symbols, but to give you an idea of what the differences are, let's just say that I want to create a task for an inspection that's needed. So in our case, I'm going to need an inspection for level 3. You'll notice that this is a square icon. This is just letting us know high level that, hey, this task isn't associated to a plan. It's just a generic task. We have the title here, but that's as far as it goes. But you can still modify some of the attributes here. And you'll notice as soon as I change this to a plan, maybe we do want to specify that this is linked to a plan, right? This life safety 3rd floor plan. This symbol will change to a diamond. And now this will appear here within the task. So now it's letting me know that, hey, this task is associated to this plan. So I can select into the plan, have my filters on right, and see all the tasks that are associated to that plan. Now, to get it to look to that checkpoint icon, we simply can drag and drop it to that area. So this is the area that I was responsible for. Once I complete all my fire stopping installation here, maybe we can create a task specific to this area. So now we know, hey, this inspection is linked directly into that area. So just kind of walking you through the differences here. But really the main takeaway here, as I mentioned, is the information that's within the task really helps us organize and becomes powerful for tracking and reporting, both for internal and external use. So on the topic of reporting, the last piece that I want to cover is our reports. So I'm actually going to pull one up that I've created with some of that information here. To give you a quick walkthrough, this report, you have full control over like what items you want to include and how you want to display this. So in our example here, it's going to have our project name, project location, your company logo, and this is what our report includes. So this is going to be specific to open tasks that fall within the status, right? We don't want to include anything that's been completed or ready for inspection or verified, just these tasks. As I scroll down through the table of contents, I can actually select into some of these because they're hyperlinked. So let's just say, for example, I want to go into this task here. This will provide me with a quick summary and overview of that task, right? So I can see exactly where this task lives, this mini map, identifying the location on the plan, and these attachments as well. So the photos and PDFs that we've attached to the task, they live here in this report, and you can access them, right? They serve as links where I can go in here and review that documentation as well. We can also schedule these out. So let's say you are sending them externally. We have the ability to schedule them out on a weekly or monthly cadence so that, if you have your recipients on the report builder, we could just add their name or their email, schedule it out on a weekly or monthly cadence, and you kind of just set it, forget it, and now that recipient is going to receive those updated reports directly to their inbox. So that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to show. We do have another poll question before we get into the Q&A session. It's good to see some of those yeses. But we'll give it a couple more seconds.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for answering that question. That really gives us a lot of feedback. And thank you, Eric, for going through this workflow in such detail. This is great to see. Now let's get into the Q&A session. Let's have the first question here. So, does Fieldwire offer fire stopping specific templates to guide me in setting up my job? My job typically falls into 3 categories: multifamily, hospital, and office. Eric, maybe you can take a minute or so to talk about the implementation side of Fieldwire once someone becomes a Fieldwire customer.
Yeah, so from like out of the box, we don't have any fire stopping specific ones, but we can help build those out. So like you mentioned, there's those three different types of categories. That's where we can have our templates and kind of walk you through how to build that out. So it's specific to that type of project. So if you have like an upcoming, residential project, we'll have a residential template that we've developed that will house that information that's specific to what's important to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. Archana, this question is for you. The Google Drive file that we showed, is this something you built out and linked yourself, or is there a master library of Hilti systems?
So we have the Google Drive that what we can share with the customers, and which is like a library of all the Hilti systems. And then they need to then have that Google account, which they can then link to the project themselves. So yeah, you will be able to link yourself, but we can share that Google Drive with all the Hilti UL systems.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Archana. Eric, this is for you. How do you set up the files for comparison and to track different drawing updates or reiterations? Eric, maybe you can just talk a little bit about the version control in the plans part of it and also in the
Yeah,
files.
Yeah, so for the version controlling, it's going to work the same way as if you're just dragging and dropping your set, right? So you'd upload your version or your set, maybe a new version comes out, upload it the same way, and because of our OCR scanner, it's scanning for that sheet number. It's going to let you know like, hey, you already have this LS1-3 on your plan. So do you want to replace it? And you just select yes. It's going to automatically replace that. All those markups that you've already made will follow you along. So in this example, you could see here, there's a call out for added as part of Rev 2. I can always go back and see how those changes have been made, right? So if I go back all the way to Rev 1, we could see that this area was added scope at one point. So this is how you would go back and review that. And the compare function is really where we can have that overlay. You hit compare and you have the option to compare between different versions or different sheets.
Perfect. Thank you. This question is again for you, Eric. Is there a benefit to capturing technical details in the task attributes? Maybe can you spend a minute on how to create these task attributes and how filtering works using the task attributes?
Yeah, of course. So the benefit depends on what information you're tracking, right? But so for the filters, I can quickly identify like, hey, maybe as I mentioned, like I want to see what type of listings, how many tasks use specific type of listing. So the filter really helps us get super granular into the information that we're tracking. So based on plan, based on assignee, it gives you quick insight into like how we're managing our tasks. The other benefit too is for reporting. So as you mentioned, right, if you have that information shown in your report, you could quickly see like, hey, this listing or this information is being tracked in here. And I didn't show it, but your report can also be produced as a CSV format. So let's just say you have you're pre-planning your work and you have a set amount of tasks for those installations, and maybe one of those attributes that we have created is, in this case, the product used, right? So now I'm going to toggle this one on. To create it's real straightforward. You just come in here, create the type of attribute you want to track, and now it's loaded up in my task. From here, I can then enter that information, right? So maybe the FS1 max is the material that I'm using here for this task. With that CSV report, you can get a quick count of like how many tasks use this material, and it can help with your bill of materials or just really getting that data out to understand like, hey, this is how much we'll require on this project. So you can kind of start seeing trends and really just have more information at your fingertips.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. We have the next question, Archana. This is for you. I'm currently using the Hilti app to track of penetrations we're installing. What steps would I need to take in order to convert what we have already done to the new Fieldwire app? Or would I have to start all over with Fieldwire?
Sure, Pranati. So, if whatever work you have performed using Hilti's existing app, and I think they are referring to Hilti's Firestop Documentation Manager app, right? And if
Mhm.
you have been using that, and if you have projects and then you know all your data there, and if you want to switch to Fieldwire now, and anyways, before that, I want to bring one more thing that Hilti is decommissioning the existing app. It is getting decommissioned on August 31st. So we can help you, support you migrating all your data from that application to the new Fieldwire app. And please contact, if you are existing customers, you will be anyways be contacted by the Hilti account managers, Hilti team members, so they will support you having this migration done, and you can start using Fieldwire, and we can support you in any all the ways, showing you how exactly it works, and getting you set up in the new app. So Fieldwire sales team and Hilti's account managers and fire protection specialist also you can contact, which you're working with. They can support you with this. So we can migrate all your data. You don't have to do anything. We will fully be migrating. You will not lose any of the information you have there.
Perfect. Thank you so much for the clarification, Archana.
Mhm.
Eric, this question is for you. Can you show us how to add the UL listing to your task attribute list? And also, how do you link it to the UL system?
Okay. Yeah, so for the list itself, so I preloaded a drop-down list, but to add, let's just say there was a listing there that wasn't a part of that, I can go into my task attributes settings here. You'll notice this is an option here to access our list directly through the task, or we can do it through our settings. So here within the list, I can go ahead and just add a new item, and let's just add one here and give it another number. So you can do it one by one, or you can just import. So if you already have that list, just add, copy and paste in here. And now that option becomes available when I select my dropdown. So I could also search for it here. And you'll see as I make those changes are captured within the task. The other question was for linking them directly from, I believe this was the other question, or the second part of
Right.
it, linking it to the task. It's going to be with our um, attachments here. I'll just go to my file, photo/file, actually the existing file because it's already linked with the Google Drive. I can go in here and then just search for that and attach it.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. Eric, this is the last question for you. I'm assuming there are multiple permission levels that can be granted to personnel outside your organization. Can you maybe speak a little bit about the permission levels within the project, and also if you can customize them or how to customize them?
Yeah, so for the permissions, they're going to be here in the People tab. So here you could see, you could set up like the company structure here where it's like, hey, maybe internally this is going to be we're running this project, but we want to add an additional team member that's outside of our company. So in this case, we'll use DEF Fire as an example. So the permissions we can customize. If I select manage permissions here, you can walk through, you can see kind of like the different, what each of those permission levels is allowed to do. And we have some options as well to include. So maybe we want some of our members to have the permission to upload plans. We can select that here. But otherwise, it's like, hey, only admin will have that permission level by default. We are updating this as well. So if there's specific types of permissions that you would like to see get a little bit more granular and have those options, please feel free to submit that feedback, and we could share that with our product team.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Eric. We just have a comment from Gabrielle here. Archana Sharma is the best. She is indeed. And that wraps up our webinar today. Thank you, everyone, for attending this session today. And I hope the session was useful for you guys. And we would really appreciate after this webinar ends if you can stay for another couple of minutes and just fill up the survey that follows this. That survey really helps us to determine the content to deliver and what works better for you guys. And thank you, everyone, again. Have a great day. Thanks, panelists.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you all.